Hi everyone, I'm Orla. Thank you for joining me today as I attempt to give my best answers to the Beyond the Books tag. So I believe the Beyond the Books tag was originally created by Mike over at Bibliophile Bookscape, and there's been some really great responses to it so far. My particular favorite is the one by What is David Reading? So David just released that tag, I think a day or two ago, and he's similarly new to BookTube. So I'm going to link his response down below, and it's well worth a watch. Very entertaining, very witty, and just an enjoyable one to listen to. I'm going to dive straight into the questions and we'll see how I get on. So, question one: what is something you enjoy outside of books that people might not know about? So, up until recently, I might have said writing because I've always enjoyed writing, I've always loved it, but I never really talked about it. And then in the last couple of months, I've started getting really serious about writing and completing my first novel. So I've been talking about that a little bit more. I've set up this YouTube channel, I have an Instagram, I'm promoting myself a little bit. The great Steve Donogue gave some really good writing advice where if you're doing it, tell people so that if your friends, are inviting you out or anything like that, you can say to them, "Oh no, today is my writing day." And um, I found that to be really good, not so much from a social engagement perspective, because I don't get to see my friends that often because we're all adults and living in different parts of the country. But they will message me and they'll ask me about the book, or I will occasionally meet up with them and they'll ask me how it's going. And there's this really great motivation in me to have something to tell them. I don't want to meet up with people and say, "Oh, I'm still writing the first paragraph of chapter 1." I want to actually be able to tell them how it's going along, especially because so many of them are rooting for me. So that actually has been really helpful. And the other unexpected outcome of actually talking to people about being a writer is that a lot of people have similarly unknown skills that they volunteer on a need by need basis. So I've had people say to me, "Oh, I've done beta reading for fan fiction, or I've done beta reading for indie authors. If you want me to read anything and give you feedback, let me know." Or I used to do line editing or developmental editing. So again, if you need help, let me know. And it's just been wonderful to see how many people in my community are rooting for me and are encouraging of me to complete this goal, even though it's something that to them would seem relatively new. Um, I get the same energy from a lot of the people in my life around going to the gym. When I first started going to the gym, I was really embarrassed and I didn't want to tell people. And then I found once I did start telling people, the amount of support that I got was just overwhelming. I had people offering to go with me to set up regular um, trips together just to kind of keep me motivated and keep me enthused about it. And that was just absolutely fantastic. So I mean, look, I think the TLDR of that question is I have amazing people in my life who love and support me and who I love and support in return, which is not related to the question at all. But there's something that I enjoy outside of books that people might not know about. Is probably the writing outside of YouTube and the gym going inside of YouTube. So there's two facets to that question, or to the answer anyway. So, question two: what is one small thing that brings you happiness in everyday life? And I was going back and forth on my answer to this one because There's the really obvious things like having wonderful friends and family, having two amazing children who I love, being fortunate enough to have been able to purchase my first house this year. But the one thing that really, really jumped out at me was actually the ability to walk. Um, as some of you may know who have been watching my earlier videos and YouTube shorts, I slipped on my garden deck and broke my leg about 5 months ago. And the doctors have described it to me as far as breaks go, it's pretty much as bad as it can get, which was quite shocking and quite terrifying because I'd never broken a bone before in my life. And it happened at the most inconvenient time it could have happened. We were moving into a brand new house in a brand new area. We were trying to get young children settled. We were trying to meet people and start to build up our community here. And all of a sudden, I was stuck in bed for weeks while I recovered from pretty major surgery. And then I wasn't able to put any weight on the leg for a really long time. So I wasn't able to leave the house that much. We have a step going into the house. So actually, even going past the front door became this huge ordeal. And then we still had the deck outside, and it was trying to get through the summer looking at it, thinking, oh my God, if anyone goes out there and they slip, they're going to break their leg like I did, and getting over that fear around it. And recently, I got the all clear from my consultant to begin taking baby steps without my crutches. Now, there's still pain, it's still uncomfortable. I'm still not cleared for most other activities, like I can't go outside without the crutches. I can't drive, I can't cycle, two things that I really, really love. But I'm finally starting to see some progress around the healing. And for me, the major milestone has been I can now actually take a couple of steps, potter around the house a bit, and not have to use my crutches 100% of the time. And that has just been an overwhelming joy. I don't think I really realized how low I was feeling about having to use the crutches all the time until I was told that I didn't have to use them all the time. So it says one small thing, that's kind of a big thing, but I think for people, and I was included in this, for people who are able to just walk without having to think about it, um, it is a pretty small thing, and you don't realize the value of that mobility until it's taken away. So, yeah, that's something that brings me a lot of happiness and joy in my everyday life. Question three is, what is something you could talk about for hours besides books? I'm also going to say besides writing because for me they're kind of one and the same. Um, Anyone who knows me would say that I am really chatty, and I can't deny that. I am an incredibly chatty person. I can talk about anything. Um, I am a really good buffer friend, I think, when you're meeting in a group and you don't want there to be any moments of awkward silence. I'm the person that you bring along because I'm able to just chat away. Um, but if we're talking about specific subjects, I would say my work. Um, which I know sounds really lame and boring, but I actually really enjoy the work that I do in my full time job, that is. And I find it really fulfilling. I find it quite enjoyable. It took me a little bit of a while to find the career that I wanted and that worked well for me and would bring me happiness every day. And, like, don't get me wrong, there are days when I'm just not in the mood to work, But those days are more, I'm not in the mood to do work that other people are asking me to do. I'll still I'd still happily do my own work. I'd sit and write in my book or read something or tidy the house or something like that. But there are definitely days where I just get like a stubborn feeling and it's like, oh, I don't want to go and sit down and read emails and do things that other people are telling me to do. And I think that's, we all have that bit of a childish teenage streak that comes out in us every now and then. But the actual subject matter of what I do, I am a GIS analyst, and GIS stands for Geographic Information Systems. It's basically analyzing spatial data to identify patterns. And then there's this element of cartography associated with that as well. And it's something that I absolutely love. I've always loved looking at maps, enjoying the beauty of them. I've always loved drawing them. I had to draw them by hand when I was in my undergraduate. Now I get to use a computer program, which is really fun. I love trying to figure out the order of analytical tools that I need to use to get the outcome that I desire. I love all of it, to be honest. I love teaching people to do it. I'm involved in a program here in Ireland where we talk to schools from disadvantaged areas about the benefit of STEAM and STEM subjects with a specific focus on girls and trying to encourage them to think of themselves as leaders in their own lives and their own communities. And I just absolutely love it. Anything to do with encouraging people to lift themselves up and chase their goals and chase their dreams and believe that they can do whatever they want to do. And if they're in a situation that they're not happy with, taking the time to figure out what would make them happy and then going for it. I just love helping people do that, especially when they're younger people who are right at the beginning of their careers, who haven't even decided what they're going to study in higher education, and just helping them figure out what they want to do. And it doesn't have to be STEM. Like in my mind, it doesn't have to be STEM, even though the nature of the program is to encourage them into STEM subjects. And sorry, I should explain for anyone who doesn't know what STEM is. It's science, mathematics, technology, sorry, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And then sometimes that gets expanded to STEAM, which includes arts. So I love talking to people who are trying to figure out what they want to do and helping them figure out the path that works best for them, because that was how I came to find GIS and that's how I came to get involved in my career. I had a very clear idea of what I wanted to do before I went into higher education. And then as I did my degree, I shifted my desires and I said, well, I wanted to study like petroleum science. And the more I learned about it, the more I didn't want to do it. So and then I discovered field mapping. And I had always loved this idea of going off into the great unknown and like Percy Fawcett mapping the Amazon. And most of the places on land have already been mapped. So that meant, well, we'd have to be looking under the sea and nobody hires adventurers and explorers as a job title anymore. So I didn't really know what to do after that. And then I discovered GIS, which in my mind is a form of that exploratory practice around maps because you're taking data that's already there and you're creating something new with it and you're identifying patterns and you're performing analytics that answer pretty complex questions. And that's just something I absolutely love. I don't know. Oh, I think I've been talking about that now for 5 minutes straight. So, yeah, definitely. What could I talk about for hours beside books? GIS. And I think that feeling is not unique to me. I think any other GIS professional feels the same way. Question 4. What is a skill or hobby you would love to learn someday? I have always wanted to know how to play an instrument, and it's just never quite clicked for me. I've made multiple attempts. I've tried to learn the violin. I tried to teach myself the piano. My brother tried to teach me the guitar and the bass, but I just couldn't figure it out. We all learned to tin whistle when we were in school and recorder. And I love singing. I really, really enjoy it. And I would love to be able to play a piano or strum a guitar while I sing. But yeah, it just hasn't happened for me. But someday, I think when life has settled down a bit, when my time isn't pulled in so many directions, it would be really, really lovely to take lessons and to actually go to a teacher and sit down and learn from somebody who knows what they're doing and knows what they're talking about, instead of an impatient younger brother saying, "Oh, well, if you can't get it in the 5 minutes we've done so far, why am I even wasting my time?" And to his credit, to be fair, he was about 13 or 14 when all this happened. So peak, peak impatient age, I think. And yeah, I mean, the violin, I started trying to learn it a year or the same year I was about to hit my state exams. And I had to choose between practicing this hobby that I was purely doing for the fun of it versus having the time to actually study for my exams in the most crucial year. So I made the safe and sensible decision, and I chose the study instead of pursuing the violin lessons. So yeah, I think 100% someday I would love to learn how to play an instrument. Maybe a string instrument. I mean, the cello in particular. Oh my God, I would love to learn how to play the cello. I just think it has the most beautiful sound. So maybe someday. Maybe someday. Question 5. What is one thing you think everyone should experience at least once? This is another this is another good one. And I'm still not sure I have an answer for it. Some people had some really nice answers. I know Steve Donogue said that everyone should experience love, which I think was a really deep poetic answer. Um, David taught from What is David Reading talked about the dawn chorus. What what do I think everyone should experience at least once? I think everyone should be able to see the ocean at least once. And it feels like a strange thing to say, being from a small island nation where the majority of the people live on the coast and can either see the sea from where they live or from within a 15-20 minute radius of where they live, especially if they live in a mountainous area. But I also know there's a lot of people in the world who have lived, they live quite far away from a coastline. So seeing a body of water as large as a sea or an ocean is just not something that is a reality for them. And I think it takes seeing something that vast to appreciate how small we really are in the grand scheme of things. I I adore the ocean. Absolutely adore it. I don't like sand. Do not like sandy beaches. I like a good pebbly beach. I like to be able to walk and not feel like pinpricks in my shoes on the beach. And the beach near us is a pebbly beach, and then you can walk into the sea, and it's enclosed because it's in a marina, and it's lovely and warm. It's like getting into a bath. But then I also love getting into like the wild Atlantic when you're in the west. Um, I swam in the far North Atlantic as well when we went to visit Iceland. I swam the Pacific when we lived in New Zealand. And no matter where you are, I find for something that is changing non-stop, the sea is constant companion. And I saw a quote somewhere and it said, if you live by the sea, you have a different view every time you look out your window. And I 100% agree with that. It is constantly changing. You're never seeing the same image twice when you're looking at a view of the ocean. But also, just it being there is just a constant supportive presence for me. And I just love it. Everyone should have a chance to gaze out onto the ocean and ponder their place in the world and how they fit in it, what they contribute to it, and what they can contribute in a positive way, especially. Um, that went a little bit deeper than I was intending. And then we move on to question six. What is a movie or show you can rewatch anytime? Um, I'm a classic rewatcher. I have shows that I consider my comfort shows, and if I want to sit and watch something, I will tend to go to those over taking the risk of watching something new. That being said, we don't have a television in the house. Um, we did just move in, and the expense of a television wasn't something that we wanted to prioritize. And now that we've gone 5 months without it, and we're finding we're not missing it, I don't think we're actually going to buy one anytime soon anyway. I'm actually finding that I've no desire to watch television even when we visit family and they have one. And if we're staying over and they're watching a movie, like I've no interest in even watching the movie. I mean, I'll sit there and I will, and I might read my book while I'm there, so kind of polite, but not the most polite. But um, I'll kind of sit and engage with the people I'm with for the social aspect, but I won't be particularly interested in what's on the screen. But if I was going to rewatch a show, um, for me, The Office, The American Office, and The Good Place are probably my two favorite TV shows that I would go back to again and again. Um, and Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Oh my God, Buffy the Vampire Slayer. And and it's a nice long series as well. I think there's 144 episodes. So like by the time you get to the end, you've kind of forgotten the beginning, so you can just go back and watch it again and again in a continuous loop. Yeah, so a short enough answer to number six, really. Number seven, what is a non-alcoholic drink that you would suggest anyone try? I don't drink. Um, Not for any particular reason other than I don't enjoy it all that much. I don't particularly enjoy the taste of wine or beer. If I was to drink, it would be more of a cocktail, but yeah, so my answer for this is quite easy. I really enjoy lemon and lime bitters. That was something that I really got into while we were living in New Zealand. I hadn't really come across it here in Ireland before we left. And then over there, quite a lot of people drank them. And it's essentially a soda or a lemon and lime flavored lemonade. So they would make it using Sprite or 7 Up or like the soda water from the fountain. And then they would top it up with this liquid called bitters. And it was like this orangey brownie syrup. And it would sit on top of the lemonade or the soda, and you'd mix it up, and it was so refreshing. It tasted like a syrupy lemon and lime. I don't know how to describe it, but there was definitely places that made a better one because based on whatever mixer they used or whatever proportions they used, there were definitely our favorite bars or our preferred bars that made them nicer than others. And you could buy them in a tin as well. You could buy the ready to drinks and they were nice as well. The Bundaberg brand was our favorite. Um, but yeah, we haven't quite found what we wanted here. We thought we'd found the bitters once, but it tasted really, really different to what we'd had in New Zealand. And I don't know if that's because they're just different things in each country, or we bought the wrong variety, or what. I don't know. We haven't really looked into it too much since then. But lemon and lime bitters is just, yeah, if you want a nice, refreshing drink and you're on a night out and you don't want to feel like you're drinking water or just soda the whole night, or soft drinks as we call them, it just elevates it just a little bit, which is nice. The final question, question 8, is what is your perfect lazy day? And I had to laugh with my husband when I was telling him about these questions because the aforementioned broken leg meant that I had 8 weeks of no work, no responsibility looking after the children because we had our my in-laws helping us and my husband was doing it and I couldn't do anything. Um my only job for those 8 weeks was to stay in bed and keep my leg elevated and rest. And that is the perfect setup for a lazy day or a series of lazy days. And in that time, I read a book and a half a week and outlined my entire novel. Yeah, I mean, for me, the perfect lazy day is the one that's not actually lazy. But as I have proven to myself time and time again, if given the opportunity to be lazy, I just end up being productive, possibly more productive than if I was having a busy day. So, yeah, perfect lazy day is a day where I get to do whatever I want, which tends to be quite a busy, productive day because I enjoy being busy. I enjoy being productive. I like to go to bed at the end of the day feeling like I've accomplished something, whether that's reading a certain amount of my book or coming up with a really good idea for my writing or even like making a YouTube video. I just like going to bed feeling like I have done something, I've created something, or I've produced something, and it's all helping me achieve my goals and my dreams, and it's helping me be the person that I want to be. And it's not so much that I'm aspiring to be a person, like I don't have an idea in my head of who I want to be, but there's definitely elements of myself that I absolutely love. And by doing these things, it's feeding that love for myself. And it's saying if I continue to do these things, I'm continuing to be the person that I love. Which I think is really important and really special. So I think I went a bit deeper on some of those than I intended. I suppose that's the outcome of sitting in a room by myself, talking to myself, pretending I'm talking to a group of people. But yeah, this was a really fun tag. It gave me a lot of opportunities to think about things that I possibly didn't spend time to thinking about before. And I will link um Mike, the creator of the tag, below, and I'm also gonna link What is David Reading and Steve Donogue, who did really good versions of this tag as well. And hopefully you'll give it a try as well, and we can see what your perfect lazy day looks like, or what kind of TV shows you think we should all binge. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again real soon. Bye.